Good evening, everybody. I'm back. It's been a while. We're back, and I'm with Wynnie. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm all right, mate. How are you? Like a nice little break away from our ugly faces. Is that what it is?
Yeah, just been working leading up to Christmas, mate. You know how it goes.
Oh,
We got quite a bit to talk about, but I want to try and cram in as much as I possibly can. Obviously, I know we're doing a bit later tonight. Obviously, we normally have a morning show, but
yeah.
here we are in the evening. So,
Yeah, mix it
yeah,
up a little bit. Why not, eh?
exactly. I mean, the only place to really start is just not coming home.
It's, it's not coming home, mate. You know, there was so much build up to it. You know, I think it's just what we do. We hype them up so much. We thought it, you know, I genuinely thought, I thought it was coming home. I did say in previous pods, if we can get past France, when I found out we were playing France, if we can get past France, I genuinely think that's it. We're going to win the tournament because I didn't see anyone else stopping us. But as you said, it's not coming home, Dave. It's not coming home, mate.
It's you know what, right? And it's you are right about hyping us up, and we are guilty of it quite a lot. But what I will say is the problems in the last three tournaments, in my opinion, have been Southgate and the decisions he's made,
Yeah,
and the timing of decisions he made. You know, against France, between I think about 60 and 75 minutes, we were on top.
yeah.
We were all over them. That's the time where you roll the dice.
Yeah.
You bring on your Rashford, you bring on your Grealish, you bring on the players that can make a difference. You don't bring on Raheem Sterling, who's been at home for a week.
No, it
Who's
was
then come.
it was crying out for. It was literally crying out for Grealish. Like I'm a massive advocate of Grealish. I think what he brings, like I'd love to see him in a Spurs. Imagine him in a Spurs shirt, like
Oh, mate,
Decky on one side or
it
Son on
nearly
one side.
happened.
Grealish.
Don't. It nearly happened. It makes me sick.
I know it did. I know, yeah. But Daniel Levy was a bit too tight with his money. So, but yeah, no. Like I'm a massive advocate for Grealish, and I think at the time when you can draw in so many fouls, there was players on bookings. You can potentially get someone sent off, and you can be playing, let's say, 15 minutes with them down to 10 men or something like that. So
Yeah.
it was crying out for someone like Grealish. But my issue is, what I will say is, I think Southgate is very much like I say he's very much like Conte, and what I mean by that is the system that they play and the way they play. So they were both defenders when they were playing football. So I think the way
Yeah.
they approach it is defensive style, and we've seen it with Spurs. So we sit back and we let them attack us, and we very rarely make a venture out of our own half, so to speak. We counter attack when we can, and that's what England do good. But I'd
Yeah.
love to see, and especially against France, because when we were on top, it was almost as if we were still scared to go,
Yeah.
to go forward and press.
Yeah.
And if we'd have done that, we had chances, but I think we'd have created a lot more chances. And lo and behold, we could have got back into the game, but it didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, I feel a bit obviously poor old Harry. He buries the first penalty, and that's hard
I
against
know.
Maurice, who he trains with every day. Probably
Yeah,
practice penalties against him every day. That's
yeah,
a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and he buried the first penalty, fair play. But after that point, everyone's obviously giving him a load of stick online, saying, "Oh, he's useless" and everything else.
yeah.
But I think you need to look at the bigger picture. You can't just blame Kane for missing a penalty.
No.
And the fact is, between our first goal and that second penalty, Bukayo Saka missed an absolute sitter.
Yeah.
The ball was whipped in. All he had to do was toe poke it in the goal, and he put it wide. That goes in. It's 2-2. So you have to look at a collective as opposed to just pointing your fingers at Harry Kane because he missed a penalty. Now that will haunt him because he'll know better than anybody that if we win that game, we probably win the World Cup.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
The thing is, and I'm slightly concerned now because I think we're going to get one of two Harry Kanes. We're either going to get a Harry Kane that is sulking, or licking his wounds, and will take a while, like he was after Man City. When he didn't go to Man City, he sulked for a little bit. He did. There's no two ways about it. He sulked, and his performances were shit. So we're either going to get that Harry Kane, or we're going to get a Harry Kane that goes, look, I'm being slated worldwide, probably, you know, on social media and stuff like that. I need to prove a point. I need to show what I'm about. So, you know, I'm praying that it's the second one, obviously. And we get a Harry Kane that wants to prove that he isn't as shit as people think he is, because he missed a penalty. Penalties, it's a 50-50 chance. Like, if he'd have missed a sit, I'd want, you know, it's different.
It was a shit penalty. Let's not sugarcoat it. It was a shit penalty.
Horrendous, yeah.
Very un-Harry Kane-like in the way that he approached it and struck the ball. He didn't even pull his, like, he normally does that thing where he pulls his socks up, takes a deep breath, and then he didn't do any of that. No, you know, he just spotted the ball down and then just whacked it as hard as he could. And obviously, you can't do that. And it is unfortunate that it was him. But I do think the criticism of him is difficult because you're playing against your club captain, who you've played with for the last 10 years, who knows you inside and out. He knows what you're going to do. It makes you second guess yourself in that scenario. So I don't believe that the criticism has been fair, because, I mean, the guy's England's record goal scorer, level with Rooney, you know, and it just annoys me that people can't see how good he is. And I feel, I mean, I defend Kane so much. I'm in a group chat with a few mates, and they all can't stand Kane. They think he's overrated, the penalty merchant. And it's like the stuff I've had to read over the last week since the France game. I'm just sitting there like, you have no idea. Like, he's unbelievable. He is absolutely unbelievable. But I think we'll get a good Harry Kane. I think he'll come back with a point to prove, and he'll want to prove himself.
I think so too. I actually do. I do think, you know, because a load of people, you know, the pundits have said, you know, this will haunt him for a very long time. And yes, it will deep down, but I've just got a feeling this time he's not going to show it. I think he'll want to put it right. He's going to show it in his performances. Yeah, exactly. That's the type of player that Harry Kane is. But what I will say, that was the first time, that second penalty, that was the first time I've seen Harry Kane nervous. Like, he's normally, he normally oozes confidence. Like, when he's stepping up to a penalty, you look in his eyes and you're like, he's not going to miss this. You just know he's not going to miss it. That second penalty, that was a different Harry Kane.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Everybody's saying, I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing. Everybody's saying, oh, we shouldn't have taken the second penalty, blah, blah, blah. I can guarantee to you there is not one person in England, when Harry Kane stepped up to take that penalty, that thought he's going to miss this.
No, I know what you mean.
Nobody would have thought that. Because there'd have been, it's Harry Kane. He scores penalties. That's what, you know, he's very good at them. So, you know, it is what it is, but I think we'll get a better. Hugo. Second World Cup final.
Yeah.
In 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just Hugo, isn't it? This is a keeper that we've watched for so long now. And, you know, it's sad he's coming to the end of his career. You know, he's had a lot of criticism this season and you know, maybe last season as well. But he is really, I know, and Spurs fans do it as well, slate him. But I think he is, you know, he's Mr. Consistent. I just wish, you know, that we got the France Lloris, because I actually, watching this tournament in particular, they are two different players. Now, I don't know whether that's because he's got France in front of him as opposed to Spurs. Maybe it's a psychological thing. I don't know. But the France Lloris and the Spurs Lloris are two completely different people, mate. Like Jekyll and Hyde.
He's so much more commanding in a French shirt. So much more commanding. You know,
and he's great with his feet as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's weird. It's so weird. It's like, I'm happy for him. Obviously, he is coming to the end. I think people know my thoughts on Hugo and the fact that and it's time to let go a little bit and bring in someone new. From watching this World Cup, mate, Livakovic I'll be snapping up straight away for Croatia.
Yeah,
I think he's unreal, mate. He's one of them players that I've watched in this World Cup before. Jesus.
We've had a Croatian goalkeeper before, though, and it didn't work very well. So
I know.
I can't even remember his name. What was his name?
Was it wasn't Pleticosser? Was it? Who was it? Was it Pleticosser?
I think it was Pleticosser.
Yeah.
He was dreadful. Yeah. So hopefully, you know, watching that Croatian keeper, he does look like the business. So, I mean, we said
I wanted to touch on something.
Yeah, go on.
Go on. No, go on.
No,
You said what?
I was just going to mention about the keeper situation. Me and Luke mentioned this. I think it was the last pod. And recently, there's been reports materialised about Emi Martinez from Argentina and obviously Aston Villa, respectively.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. And there's quite solid reports now. Whereas when me and Luke were talking about it, it was just rumours. Whereas there seems to be gaining some traction. So, I mean, Emi Martinez, what a replacement I think for Hugo Lloris, by the way. So, if that does happen, I'll be very, very happy.
Yeah, I would be too. I do want to. What I was going to say was, we've talked a lot about obviously England and France and everything else. But if I had to say to you, if you looked at the tournament as a whole, and you looked at 3 players that really stood out in this tournament for you personally, who would they be?
Wow, what a question. I mean, let me think about it. I would say, what, from just in general or from a Tottenham perspective?
From in general, yeah.
Just in general. That is, do you know what? Let me go for you first, and I'll think about a few because you put me on the spot there. I'll think about them. You tell me yours, and then I'll have a think.
My first one's obviously the most obvious one. Is Moroccan Amrabat.
Okay.
I think he's been absolutely unbelievable this tournament. I also think Richarlison.
I was going to say Richarlison, but then I don't know if I was like blinded by the goals that he scored.
No, mate, he's been very, very good for Brazil.
Yeah,
it's not the Richarlison we see in a Tottenham shirt at the moment. And the third one is probably Enzo Fernandez.
Yeah,
for Argentina.
He has looked good.
I think those 3. I mean, I've watched as much as I possibly can, and those 3 players. I mean, you get honourable mentions like Juranovic for Croatia, the fullback, and obviously Hakimi, and Bellingham, etc. But those 3 for me, I think Richarlison leading that line for Brazil. You noticed it when they went out. Who did they go out to again?
Who was that? Sorry,
who did Brazil go out to again?
It was Croatia, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Croatia.
Yeah.
When they went out to Croatia, Richarlison wasn't fit.
Yeah.
He had a knock, didn't he? And they just didn't look the same team. They looked, lost without him. And from a Tottenham point of view, that's really good. I mean, I'm gutted now he's injured till February.
It is a bit of a shitter. It is a shitter because I felt as though on the back of this tournament, because he's had a good tournament, as you say, I thought he was going to come back to Spurs. He was going to get his opportunity in the team because, there's people coming back from the World Cup. People need rotation. I thought this was going to be his chance to try and, stake a claim in the team, but it's not going to happen yet, unfortunately. I still think he will. I'm a massive believer in Richarlison. When we were linked with Gabriel Jesus, Rafinha and Richarlison, I said to Luke last week, he was the one that I wanted, Richarlison, because I think his overall package, exceeds everything that the other 2 could bring. So it is a shame, but you know what? We've just brought him. There's plenty of time for him to get in the team. He ain't going anywhere yet. So
no, and it just seems to be a thing with Tottenham that whenever players they don't really have that bad injury records, they come to Tottenham and they're made a cardboard all of a sudden. I don't know what happens.
People mention our medical team. I don't know. They must be like monkeys or something, just like all bouncing around the medical room. I don't know because they are horrendous. You see players like out for 1 week, and then next thing you ain't seen them 4 months later. And you're like, what's going on?
Skippy's a prime example of that.
Yeah. He just kept his injury just kept reoccurring, getting worse. Then all of a sudden, part of his, I think it was part of his ankle bone had detached. He needed surgery. It was ridiculous. It just kept worse and worse and worse. But maybe it's just a thing. Maybe it is just a thing, but we just see it through a Spurs perspective and don't see it from another point of view. I don't know, but it's not good.
Yeah, it's not great, and I'm hoping that obviously it will improve because obviously losing Rishi for 6 weeks isn't ideal for Tottenham because we do know if Kulu, Son's been off form, and if Kane picks up an injury, we're in trouble, and we're going to need to strengthen in January, and that's what when we come to the end of the show, that's my final talking point is January and what we should hope for and what we should go for. And another honourable mention of players that I would pick up in this tournament, Gvardiol. God,
I was going to say. Yeah.
Do you watch him today?
Do you know what? I haven't watched him today, I must admit. But I've watched
so good.
I've watched pretty much every other game with him, and he has been. He is the player. Like, imagine, Dyer's had his critics, but he has been largely solid for Spurs. Moving back into that centre back position. So I propose this: Eric Dyer in the centre of a three with Guardiola and Romero either side. What a defence that is! Because we'll have Dyer in there, Marshall in the two, because he's very good with his mouth. Dyer, isn't he? He may not be great at football, but he certainly can control a defence. That's one of his credits, one of his strengths. So him,
mate, that's getting clipped up. You know that, don't you?
Mate, I've made myself
getting clipped up. Dyer is very good with his mouth. That's getting clipped up, mate.
Yeah, but he's good with his mouth. He's good with his mouth and shit with his feet. But him marshalling Romero and Guardiola either side, that would be amazing. So I'd like to see that. I
mean, I think he'll end up at Chelsea personally, Guardiola.
Yeah, probably.
That's where he'll end up. But I mean, we'll see. It's time will tell. I mean, obviously Spurs, we've got a preseason game, I think, Wednesday.
Yeah, against Nice.
I mean, I say preseason game. It feels like preseason.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Mid-season friendly. I mean, I don't really know what to expect from that. A lot of players aren't going to be there.
Just touching back on, I've just thought of two players that stood out for me. One of them, which was obvious anyway, is Messi. I will say that. There's anyone that doubts Lionel Messi is a fool anyway, because he is, and this is the big debate,
the GOAT debate.
Messi or Ronaldo. What are you? Who's the GOAT for you?
So for me, neither of them are the GOAT.
Right. Okay.
Maradona's the GOAT for me. But in the Messi Ronaldo debate, I'm not one of these people. I think people can get too wrapped up in the team Messi, team Ronaldo. It always seems to be like you like one but hate the other. I appreciate both players, but I've always been more team Ronaldo.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know why. I think he's done it in more countries. His goal scoring record is better, etc. But if Messi wins this World Cup, that will tip me more towards Messi for sure.
Yeah. I was saying to one of my friends, we was having this debate yesterday, actually. If you want someone that's going to score you a goal in the last minute, whether it be a 30-yard screamer, whether it be a towering header, whether it be a bicycle kick, you're picking Ronaldo. Ronaldo's your man. But Messi just has something about him. Like, I could watch him all day. Like, the ball like, is glued to his feet.
Yeah.
But so Messi stand out, obviously. And I would love to see him win this World Cup. Now it's not going to be England, obviously. Another player, and we mentioned him last week, and we was kind of giving him a bit of praise, which was weird because we probably shouldn't be in a Spurs show, but was Saka. I've gone into this tournament looking at Saka, thinking he's dog shit. I've never rated him really. I always thought he was very overrated. But I must admit, going into this tournament, having watched him, I've watched every England game, obviously, and watching him in detail because he started quite a few of them. I can see why people think he is, this so-called generational talent that he is. I wouldn't say he's anything special yet, but I can certainly see what he brings. So the two that stand out for me, definitely Messi and Saka. And there's other honourable mentions that you say, but they're just people that you would expect to be good,
Yeah. No, I agree. And obviously I don't want to talk too much about Arsenal, but I think they're in big trouble now. Jesus is injured. That's a worry for them, mate. Could be out for the rest of the season. There goes their title challenge, which is absolutely fucking amazing.
We'll see now. We'll see, because I don't like to wish injuries on people, but I'm quite excited now to see how they deal with it.
If you'd want anyone to get injured in that Arsenal team, it would have been him.
Yeah, exactly. And like I say, I am interested to see what they're going to do, because they're either going to capitulate or they're going to just maybe get through another way. I don't know what they're going to do, because I don't know what other players they've got to replace him with. I don't think they've got anyone. So Nketiah, yeah. If I've got Nketiah coming up against Spurs, I'm not going to be too concerned. So this will be interesting to see.
No, I completely agree. So I want to go back to that Nice game. So what's your kind of expectations? I mean, obviously we're going to see a very weak Spurs team. Youngsters, I'd imagine.
Well, I think what we're going to see is largely an 11 of first teamers, so to speak. And what I mean by first teamers, I mean people like Davinson Sanchez, Doherty, Spence. I mean people that are always involved within the first team squad. The youngsters will make up the bench largely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be Kulusevski. We're going to see Brian Hill. We're going to see Skippy. We're going to see Basuma, Harvey White. I think he's done himself a bit of credit. I haven't watched the games, but I've watched the highlights and looking through Tottenham Twitter. I think he's been doing quite well. And he's always a player he's always been part of the mix, Harvey White. Every pre-season, he's always out there, whether it's in America, whether
like
it's
Stephen Corker, isn't he?
Yeah, we just can't get rid of him. But Corker was one because he was absolute dog shit. But I think Harvey White, Harvey White, there just seems to be, I think there's a player in there. He looks like, when I've seen him, he looks very technical. He looks good, but it's just going to be players like that make up the squad. And then when the rest come back from the World Cup, players like Harvey White will be back to the bottom of the pile. But I think Doherty scored like 3 goals, hasn't he? I think.
Yeah. He's doing well, Doc. Obviously it's a difficult one with Tottenham's right back situation because obviously everyone knows what I think about Emerson. I don't hide the fact I think he's dog shit. I don't think Doherty's much better.
No, but he's the better of the two.
Yeah, I think Spence, I don't know what he's done or said to Conte or what's happened there, but he can't get a look in. Maybe he's one for the future, who knows. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, I do like seeing the youngsters getting games because I feel like we've let a lot of youngsters go. Marcus Edwards, Dylan Markande. Last thing I want to do is see players, like White leaving. I do want to see him integrated into the team a little bit and given a shot. But yeah, I don't really think you can expect too much. I mean, a lot of people are worried about Tottenham losing players, obviously, when we come back from the World Cup. I don't think it will happen. I think Hugo will get 5 days off, and then he'll be back. He'll be back for Boxing Day, and I think he'll just have to suck it up a little bit and get on with it. Kane will obviously get a week off. Romero the same. I'm not sure we'll see Romero first game back.
He'll probably get injured again.
More likely, I made a paper, and so what is with Tottenham and Argentinians? They all seem to get injured. Lo Celso was just bad. He was terrible. He was always injured.
Yeah, his injury record was horrendous.
Yeah, so I don't know, mate. It's one of them ones, isn't it? It's a bit of a nothing game that I'm not really that bothered about. It's probably the right.
Yeah, it's literally just it's just keeping people like Brian Hill, keeping people like Skippy.
He's been really good, apparently.
I know.
What I've heard, Brian Hill, and a few weeks back, remember Luke asked me the question. In a few years' time, Champions League final.
Yeah.
Would you want Brian Hill to start? And I was like, yep.
Yeah.
There's a player there, mate. There's a player there.
100%. And what I love as well is, all the time there was uncertainty about his future. When, whether he was going back to Valencia on loan, whether he was going back to Valencia permanently. We were trying to tout him out to different places. All the while, he was still posting things on Instagram of training in his Spurs stuff. He was like posting on there, "Come on, you Spurs, Coys." The bloke seems to just like Spurs and love the team that he's at. And I think, like I've said before, I think it's echoed in we seem to have a really good team morale at the minute. Now, whether that's something that Conte has built or whether it was always there, but we never really saw it because people like Mourinho would bring the spirits down. I don't know, but Brian Hill, I think he scored against Motherwell. They had there was another game they played. I think it might have been someone like Peterborough under 21s behind closed doors. I think he scored again. So he's scoring goals now, and it's not just by luck. I mean, he's got Kulusevski feeding him and people like that. So do you know what? I think this is the problem with Conte, and we've said it loads of times before. We're up against it. It's 0-0. We're drawing or we're losing. There's 20 minutes left. Stick him on.
Yeah.
Just stick him on. What's the worst he could do? Do you know what I mean? And look at that cameo against, was it Frankfurt? I think it was Frankfurt at home, wasn't it?
Yep.
He had a little cameo there. He looked brilliant.
See, I'm a huge. I don't understand I get people think he's weak and everything else, and he needs to toughen up and strengthen up. But he's young, mate. He is a very young player. You know, it's you got to give someone like that a bit of time and allow him to adapt properly. I do think there's a really good player there, and I do think in a few years' time we'll start seeing that come to fruition. You know, so he's one that I'm very, very happy to see playing and playing well. I don't want to keep you too long because obviously I know it's a Saturday night, but I've got a couple more things I want to talk about. Number one being Antonio Conte.
Okay.
So the contract rumours are back.
Yes.
I don't know if you've read much about it. Is he going to sign?
I've read a bit about it, maybe not in detail, but I've read, you know, like you say, they've surfaced again, etc. So,
what do you think he's going to do, personally?
I think he will extend his contract. I think I've spoke about this in the previous couple of weeks somewhere. I think he, you know, we are all aware of his record of where he leaves clubs after a certain amount of time, after 2 years or whatever it is. This is the first time that I think he knows that he's got a proper project.
Yeah.
You know, he's gone into teams before and he has transformed them. He went into Chelsea when they finished, I think they finished like 10th or 11th in the Premier League.
Still unbelievable.
Yeah, of course they are. And he turned them around and won the league. He'd done the same with Inter Milan. But we're talking about teams that have got so much, you know, so prestigious. They've got so much history. They've got a lot of backing. This is the first time where, so it's kind of expected that he would go in there and turn it around. If he didn't, then, you know, he'd probably get questioned as a manager. So this is the first time where he's come to a team where it literally is a project. We don't have billions and billions of pounds to just throw away. He's got to build it up from the bottom. We've got the foundations. We've got the good foundations. We've got a beautiful stadium, one of the best training facilities in the world, definitely in Europe. And we've got that nucleus of good players. This is, like I say, this is the first time I think where he's probably looking at this and going, do you know what? This is like, it's almost like he's playing like Football Manager, you know, and you have to you don't just play games. You have to just build it from every aspect of the club.
Yeah, and I'm completely with you. I think he'll stay, and I get a lot of stick for saying that from my friends. I've got obviously Chelsea, my main group of friends. So there's Chelsea fans, Arsenal fans, and United fans. And their opinion, they're like, "Oh, he's not going to stay. He's going to leave. He's going to leave you high and dry. Another manager not win nothing with Tottenham. Blah 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 blah." I'm actually of the same opinion of you. I think he'll view Tottenham as a project, and provided he hears the right messages from the board, the right messages from Levy, that he's going to get the backing that he wants, and he's going to be able to build the team that he wants to have in this league, he will stay. And I think we could end up keeping him for about 5 years. A lot of people think that's mad, and that, you know, that I'm mad for saying that, but I generally believe that he'll stay at Tottenham. So I do have a question for you based on that. There's one I've seen going on Twitter. Who's more important in signing a new contract right now? Antonio Conte or Harry Kane?
That is a great question. So let me think about this.
I'll put it on the pod as well. I'll ask our Twitter fans on Twitter. I'll put it as a poll as well, but I want to get your opinion on that.
So I'm gonna say Antonio Conte. So a couple of reasons. Purely because I think the whole debacle about Harry Kane going to Man City last season.
Yep.
I was gutted, but there was a part of me that had come to terms with it, and I thought, you know what?
Yep.
There is life beyond Harry Kane.
Yep.
I don't want there to be, if I can help it, but there would be life beyond Harry Kane. We've got such an array of attacking talent. Like, for, you know, I know he's injured, but we've got Richarlison that can come and play a centre role. The amount of money we would get for Harry Kane, we would be able to not replace him, but we would be able to find a suitable replacement.
Yeah.
And the problem with that, the problem in the past is, you know, people will say, well, you know, Spurs aren't attractive. You've tried to get players previously and you failed because they don't want to join Spurs. No, they don't want to come and play second fiddle to Harry Kane. That's the reason why. That's the reason why we haven't signed. If we went for, this is probably a bit extreme, but if we got rid of Harry Kane and we went, let's go. Do you know what, Lewandowski? Do you fancy coming to Spurs? You'd be the focal point of our attack. We're in the Champions League, Premier League, new challenge. I genuinely think someone like him would do it. I really do.
Obviously, you look at Juve at the moment. They got all their big problems. They're getting that relegated. We're getting up with Vlahovic on the cheap.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Someone like him, we were massively, we were very. I think we were very close to getting him when he was leaving, when he was leaving previously. So, do you know what? I think, yeah. So Antonio Conte, because I think what he brings to the club. I know Harry Kane brings a lot, but he brings a lot. Harry Kane brings a lot to the team. I think Antonio Conte brings a lot just to the club in general.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that as well is I'm interested to see what he brings in terms of a transfer window, because we haven't really got to see.
Want to hear my prediction about what's going to happen in the next few years at Tottenham?
Go on then.
So I've thought quite in depth about this. What I actually think will happen is Conte signs a new deal.
Yeah,
I think Pochettino takes the England job. If Southgate decides to leave, I think when Conte comes to the end of his cycle at Tottenham, I'd imagine it'll probably be just before, maybe just after the Euros, maybe 2-3 years time.
Yeah,
and then I think Poch comes back to Spurs. That's what I generally believe will happen. I think Poch.
Now, I'm not just saying this, just for effect for the pod. 100%. I had this same conversation the other day. I would love to see that happen. I mean, I'd love to have Conte as my club manager and Pochettino as my country's manager at the same time.
That's ridiculous. Oh,
and
man.
I genuinely think Pochettino would be a great fit for the England job anyway.
Yep.
A few people I've spoke to about that wouldn't like him because he hasn't won a lot of stuff, etc. I mean, that's the same shit that gets recycled every time you mention the name Mauricio Pochettino. Do you know what? I would love to see that. If that's the course for this club, bring it on, because I'm all for that. I loved Pochettino. Yeah. I loved him. And when we were linked with him again, we were linked with him and we were linked with Conte. I was like, maybe it's a bit too soon for Poch to come back while we've got someone like Conte linked, because Conte is huge. But when he comes, and there will be an end to Conte. Hopefully it is in about 3 years' time, etc., after the next major tournament. Yeah. And by that time, maybe Pochettino can come back to the club like a European winner.
Rejuvenated, yeah. So I'll ask you the question again. One answer then. Who's more important to Tottenham in signing a contract right now, Harry Kane or Antonio Conte?
Antonio Conte.
Antonio, I agree completely. I will put this up as a poll on the pod, so get involved. Let us know your thoughts. Who do you think is more important in signing a long-term contract right now for Tottenham, Conte or Kane? Yeah. I want to touch on a bit of transfer talk before we switch off for the night, mate, if possible. Obviously, January is fast approaching. Christmas Eve next week. I know. A week later, it's the January transfer window. I'll be honest, I can't stand the January window. I think
it's always a shit one.
It's so much pressure and so much squeezed into such a small amount of time that it's always like that. But last January, we got Kulu and Bentancur.
Exactly.
What do you want?
I would love to see, and I think it sounds silly, but it's probably just going to be echoing from the last window. I would love to see an attacking player in there in terms of midfield. Yeah. The problem is we don't play a formation that fits an attacking midfielder. I get that, but I would personally love to go, right, do you know what? Let's chuck 40 million. Let's chuck 40 million at Leicester and go, we'll have Maddison, please. Yeah. And just see what they say. Test the water, because Leicester, they're in that much uncertainty this season. They were a club that were always consistently up in 5th, 6th, 7th, etc. Centre back and right wing back.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off short there, Winnie.
Yeah.
You are a big up. I haven't spoken to you in a while. He did a show with me a few weeks back. He's spot on, because that's what I was thinking. Carry on, Winnie. Yeah,
no, literally. So I would chuck not a lot of money, but I'd chuck some money and test Maddison's resolve, because I think he's due a move to a big club. No disrespect to Leicester, but a bigger club. Yeah, a Champions League club. And I think we could fit him in our squad, definitely.
Well, you think you look at it for Leicester, he's been playing off the right, really, hasn't he?
And do you know what? He's almost he had a bit of low form, but he's almost rejuvenated this season.
Yeah.
Because he's scoring. He's scoring goals week in, week out, and effectively it got him a call up for the World Cup. So everyone's talking about right wing back now. The reason why I'll say I'm happy, I'll say I'm happy with what we've got. I'm not happy with what we got. However, I feel like I think Spence is the one. I really do. I think he's shown it when he was at Forest. So I think Spence is the one. I think we need to just play it and play it and play it until we've got no choice but to play him. Because if we went out like we were linked with Denzel Dumfries, is it?
Yeah, and Pedro Porro, they're the two, aren't they?
Cool. So yeah, that's a good point actually. Denzel Dumfries, I've watched in this tournament. Pony, mate. He's pony. He's no better than what we've got. I genuinely believe that.
Royale Mark II.
Genuinely believe it. I can't remember who it was against. I think it was a knockout game. It may have. Did they play Croatia at some point?
I
don't know. Anyway, I think it was a knockout game.
No, they lost to Argentina, didn't they? So the other side of the group.
Cool. So yeah, so it would have been.
No, they would have been Croatia. I can't even remember that, mate. I don't know why.
It's been that much, but yeah. So there was a point where they were 1-0 down anyway, and they were trying to get back into the game. It probably was Argentina, but they were trying to get back into the game. And someone's ran down his left, the left-hand side, his side of the pitch, beat him in the box, and he's just absolutely clattered him. So brain dead. Like you're 1-0 down in a knockout game. You need to get back into it. We don't need someone like him. Pedro Porro, yeah, I've watched him. I've watched him extensively, but I've seen him especially when he played against us.
Yeah,
he is a player. He is a massive player. I don't know if he's. This sounds stupid. I don't know if he's Conte's ideal fit.
Is he physical enough?
Yeah, that's the problem. I
don't know. Talk about that. They don't know if he's a Conte type player.
Yeah, I look at him and I go, I would love to see him on the right hand side. Like I think he'd be a perfect fit for Spurs, but I don't think he is a Conte fit, and that's ultimately what I think it will come down to. And also, I think I don't know. Obviously, I don't know where he's came from, etc. But I'm assuming what I read was correct. Is Man City? I'm assuming that's where he came from eventually at some point. Yeah. They've got like a 30 million buyback clause.
Yeah, so they'll get first refusal, but they're not going to want him.
No, but I think it would be sensible for them, business-wise, if they was to just activate it and then sell him back on, because they'd probably make 20, 30 million on him. But what's 20, 30 million to Man City? So
peanuts. That's what I mean.
And yeah, another, like echoing what Has said, another centre back. I would like to see it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think that's for me the crucial positions. I know you. Obviously, I am a believer in Spence. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think he's going to get any games really this year. I think he'll be loaned out in January.
Yeah,
that's my personal opinion, and I do think we will sign a right wing back. And the other position is centre half. Yeah. Because when you look at our centre halves and you look at what we've got, you've got Donkey Sanchez, Benjamin turning circle of a semi-truck Davis. It's like Calamity Sue, mate. Watching our team when Dyer don't play or Romero don't play.
Yeah,
you kind of look at the lineup. Whenever either any of them not playing, and I see Sanchez or I see Davis and in the starting lineup, I'm like, ugh, makes me cringe. Yeah. So I do think we need to sign a centre half. I think Gvardiol will be going somewhere a lot bigger than us now.
Yeah,
he'll go right to the top. So it's going to be interesting to see who we get. I mean, obviously the talk about Bastoni, but yeah, he's not really played for Inter. They haven't really played him this year, so I wouldn't want to go and drop 70 million on him.
No, and you know what? I don't think he would cost that much anymore.
I'd rather get Skriniar from there, mate.
Yeah. Because obviously we've been linked with him a lot.
Yeah, I'd rather take Skriniar over Bastoni personally.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But for me, if I had to give you 3 players right now that we would sign, do you know what? And this is going to sound like a mad shout. I'd take Harry Maguire.
Mate. Yeah.
Right.
Do you know what? I had this debate with my dad. I say I had my debate. He mentioned it actually during the tournament. He said Harry Maguire, because there's a lot of uncertainty about his future. He went, "I'll take him at Spurs," and I was like,
Do you know what it is, right? Do you know what it is, right? Now, I've never been a Harry Maguire lover, really, but he's so limited in that United system and how they want him to play. He's not a high press, wants to sit on the halfway line type of defender. Mate, if there's ever a Conte defender out there, it's Harry Maguire.
It's Harry Maguire, yeah.
He plays like an Italian centre half. He wants to sit deep in a free, clean up mess, play the ball out from the back, and just sit in exactly how Tottenham play. I'm telling you now, if Tottenham could get him for 40, 50 million, I'd take him all day long.
I was just going to say, that's what I was going to say. I was going to question that with how much would he cost? That would be the concern.
United know they're going to lose money on him. They don't play him. They'll take a loss. They'll take a 30 million loss, 40 million loss. No doubt about it. But if he became available, I don't care what anybody says. Maguire, Dyer, and Romero is a good back three, mate. Yeah. Obviously, you have to look to replace Dyer eventually, but for now, that's a good back three. That's solid.
Yeah,
and a lot of people I agree saying that, but I generally think that Maguire is not suited to United style of play.
Yeah,
he looks awkward and he looks clumsy at times playing for United, but you watch him play for England, he's a rock. He's solid.
Yeah. He's the first name. He's the first name on England's team sheet. Bar
England,
Harry Kane,
England sit in.
Yeah,
and that's what Tottenham do. We sit in and we let teams come onto us. So personally for me, I'm going to shout it, mate. I don't care. He's going to be clipped up and posted. I would take Harry Maguire at Tottenham. If I had to give me three players that I would sign right now, it would be Pedro Porro, James Maddison, and Harry Maguire.
Mate, just imagine, that's our January window.
Mate, that's unbelievable.
That would be
unbelievable.
That's exciting, isn't it? If that's our window, mate, we are cooking.
You know what? I'm gonna post another poll up on the Twitter page. Would you take Harry Maguire at top?
That's a great shout, because it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what other people think, because I'm 100% with it. You obviously are. It'll be interesting to see what other people think, especially obviously Spurs fans, because
that would be good. I think that's pretty much it, mate. I haven't got really much more to say. I mean,
let's just quickly, before we go, let's quickly touch upon the Brentford game. What are you expecting?
Yeah, of course. I forgot the real football returns in just over a
week.
Mate,
do you know what? I'm genuine. It feels like
I'm buzzing.
It feels like, when you have that pre-season buzz, when it gets so the back end of pre-season, you get close to the Prem starting. That's what it feels like. I'm absolutely buzzing. So obviously we're the first game back as well. I think we're the 12:30 on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
So with the early kickoff, what are you expecting?
I'm just putting a ticker up quickly. Hang on 1 second. While we're talking about this.
Yeah.
What are you expecting? Let you answer that first.
Yeah. So I think it largely depends on what condition our players come back in, in terms of the players that have gone far into the tournament. If we can get, because like I said, there is uncertainty on Romero starting, there's uncertainty on Lloris starting. I think, they'll have sufficient break, they'll have sufficient time away. The one questionable part is the eventual winner of the World Cup, whether it's Romero or Lloris. They'll want to go back to their home country and they'll want to celebrate. They'll want to, do all that. So that's the one person I think would be the uncertain one, whoever that is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's first game back. You never know what to. It's like the first game of the Premier League when it's the very first game. You never know what to expect, do you?
Sorry, mate, dropping the laptop.
You never know what to expect. I mean, it's away as well, isn't it? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm expecting a tough game. I would have if it was during a season and the games were coming thick and fast anyway. So do you know what? I'm not what I'm expecting, but I'm gonna say we're gonna come out and we're gonna shock a few people. I think we're gonna put a good performance together. We're gonna have a Kulu who's had
a pre-season.
A Kulu with a pre-season. Because he's dangerous, mate. You know, like I've watched him again, and I see clips of him when people clip Kulusevski. You know, when they have like a reel of his best clips and stuff like that. You see him do the rounds on Twitter. He is some player. He's so good. So yeah, I'm expecting us to turn up and shock a few people.
Yeah, so I agree. Again, sorry, I forgot. You know, the World Cup's been that nuts in mid-season. You kind of forget that real football's coming back. But was it 9 days till? Or
it's
9 days. 9 days till Boxing Day. You know, and it's Tottenham are back. You know, and that's great news. I think Lloris will play. I'm not sure Romero will play. I'm the same as you. I think that Conte's had a bit of time to work with a lot of players now. And that can only be good. You never know. We might see a different Emerson Royale come Brentford. I mean, probably not, but he's had a few weeks to work with him one-to-one and whatever else because he hasn't been picked for Brazil. I'm expecting.
Sorry to cut you in. I think what you've said there is actually quite a good point. Conte's had the time to work with players that are on the fringe of the team. You don't get in people like your Brian Hill, your Basuma, your Skippy, your Spence,
Doherty.
Yeah. So I think it can only make us stronger, surely, because
you know,
because we've got a starting 11 who are, in my opinion, we've got a very good starting 11. It was always our squad that was lacking.
Yeah.
So if our starting 11 can come back fighting fit and fighting strong, and also, you know, our fringe players have now got confidence because they've been working with Conte one-on-one, they've been playing games together. Maybe that's the key. Like, that's a very good point what you said. Like, our fringe players have been getting games now, and maybe they will get the confidence to compete with the first teamers when they come back from international duty.
Yep. No, I agree. You know, and it is a good point because that one-to-one training, they'd have been beasted for a few weeks, no doubt.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so it will be interesting to see how we get on. I want to get your score predictions for Brentford.
Like I said, I think we're gonna turn up and shock some people. I'm gonna go for 3-1. I think we're gonna go 3-0 up. I think we're gonna be quite convincing. Again, got to give the opposition a goal because we are Tottenham Hotspur. We will give people chances. We'll probably make a mistake and they'll score, but I think we will be convincing overall. So yeah, I'm gonna go 3-1 Spurs.
I'm gonna go Luke predictions. I'll go 4-0 Tottenham. I think we're back with a bang. You know, I never give us a clean sheet. It's quite harsh and quite critical. But we've had a long old break. I'm feeling a bit more refreshed about Tottenham.
Yeah.
A bit more positive, not as miserable as I was before the World Cup. So, yeah, I'm going 4-0 Tottenham. I'm going big. You never know. But, yeah, I think that's pretty much it, everybody. Guys, thank you for tuning in. I don't think we're back next Saturday. It's Christmas Eve. I'll be very surprised if we do a Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so. We'll obviously... We'll come back, and the next one will be hopefully a positive one where we've absolutely smashed Brentford.
Spanked Brentford, yeah. But I wish you all a Merry Christmas. From me, from Luke, who can't be here, obviously Wynnie, yourself from Wynnie, and we hope to see you all soon. Other than that, have a lovely Christmas and come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.